You know, when we were coming down tonight, I was a little worried. I told Alice, I said, you know, we've had such good crowds, and I don't know whether we're going to have another big crowd. And she said, well, why wouldn't you? And I said, well, I think I've determined why we've had such good times. Because for 1 hour a week, you could get away from all of those damn TV political ads. And this was your 1 hour of respite. Now, if you're feeling just a little withdrawn, my name is David Javersak, and I approve of this lecture. And I promise you, no obfuscation. Maybe a little bit. What is history without a little bit of chicanery? So hopefully we won't. But we are going to get into some politics tonight, because politics is central to the issue for tonight, and that is the creation of the state of West Virginia. And if you watched the news last night, you know the state of West Virginia was very prominent in terms of the national news, particularly for the Senate race. And what's interesting about it is there probably shouldn't be a West Virginia. If there had been no Civil War, there would be no West Virginia. If the individuals who pushed for a new state had not moved when they did in early 1861, there would not be a state of West Virginia. You know, that phrase, seize the day, that's what will happen. Sometimes it's a question of timing. And you can do things at a certain time and it's successful. You can do the same doggone thing at another time and it might not have the same results. But one of the things I always used to tell my students, if Herbert Hoover had been elected 8 years earlier in 1920, he would probably go down as a very good president, because Herbert Hoover was a brilliant individual, one of the smartest people ever to be president of the United States. Unfortunately, he's, you know, gets caught up into the times. And it's very difficult to deal with Great Depressions. And if you take a look at history, you'll see that's the case. Now, if you've ever been down 16th Street into West Virginia Independence Hall, okay, right there on the corner of 16th and Market, that's the birthplace of West Virginia. It was in that building in 1861 that we created the restored state of Virginia. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, because you have to understand that you have to have a Virginia that says yes to a West Virginia, okay? And when we talk about that, you'll notice that I'll be winking, because, you know, you have to, it's like a nudge, nudge, oh, is this really happening? Oh yes, this is real, okay? The one book that I used as a college student called The Creation of West Virginia, a Species of Legal Fiction. And they were probably correct. Now, but before we get to the creation of the state of West Virginia, we have to determine a couple things. One, why is that building down there? That building, West Virginia Independence Hall, was originally a custom house. And if you've ever been in it, you will know that the bottom floor is a post office. And when that post office opened, one of the things that changed was who pays for the mail. In the old days, the receiver paid for the mail. Okay? And beginning in the late 1850s, we started making the sender pay for And if you've ever been in that post office, you know you would go in and there would be a box, and you would rent that box. You would have a number, give it the number in the post. Okay. If you've ever been on the second floor has an office that would be on the corner side that has a safe in it. And that's a pretty substantial safe. And the reason for it is that Wheeling is designated what was called, we used to call it a port of entry, and then we found out that that's not really correct. It's a port of delivery, that goods coming into the country could pay a duty, and that duty would be collected. That's the custom. It's not customs. There's only one. There's no S. It's a custom house. And also on that second floor was the surveyor of the port, the guy who made sure that the steamboats were correctly done and, you know, that they met all the government standards, because steamboats could be very dangerous. And then you would have inspectors. Then on the third floor, you have a courthouse, a courtroom. That was the room that was first redone when that building was, when they started the refurbishing of it in 1979. They're still working on that building, by the way. They've just replaced the windows with windows that look like the original, so that when you look at them, they'll have all the little bubbles in them and so on, okay? Now, that room is where we're going to have the debates that create the restored state of Virginia and the new state of West Virginia. Now, before I go any further, that has never been the capital of West Virginia. The first capital of West Virginia is the old Lindsley Institute up on Oak Street. Okay? That building was the capital of the restored state of Virginia. Okay? Now,
which building?
Independence Hall.
Was the restored state?
That's the restored state. And the other one is where the first government will be for West Virginia. Now, if you saw a picture of the building, it would not look like the building that you see now. In fact, if you have the chance and you go up to that, what's it called, the first Capitol complex, you can see that there's stucco put on that building. It was originally red brick. Okay? You know, we can change the appearance of things, and we did it with that building. Now, that building is there because Wheeling is a substantial town. It's on the river. River transport is important, so you need those things like the surveyor of the port and that kind of thing. This is also the county seat. Okay? Now, the county court's not in there, but it's still the county seat. You know what had been the original county seat of Ohio County? West Liberty. And when they moved it into Wheeling in 1797, some writer said that West Liberty was so devastated that they changed the name of the town to Waste Liberty. And it did. It had a overwhelmingly negative impact. But this is also the court for this part of the state. Remember, very few people live in the rest of the Panhandle. Very few people in Hancock County, very few people in Brooke County, Marshall County, and some of these surrounding areas. They're all agricultural, there are orchards, there are sheep farms, and so on. Few people. They're all concentrated here in Wheeling. So you put up that structure. And there were 10 of those buildings put up throughout the United States. There are only about 2 or 3 of them left. And we know what the building looked like because the government kept all the records. It was a simple case of going to the Department of Treasury, looking it up, so that when you go into the building and you see the lights, those are the lights. They may not be the original, but they look like the lights that were original. When you look at the mantles, that's what the original mantles look like. In fact, the replacements were made by the same company that made the originals. The only difference was that they were 10 or 100 times more.